What's up, you guys? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm being coached by a top 500 and GM player. I hope you enjoy this video and comment down below the next hero you want to see. Don't forget to like and subscribe also, but let's get into it. I'd like for Puddles and Ella to introduce themselves, starting with Puddles.
Hello, everyone. Yep, my name is Puddles. As you heard, I'm a tank main, top 500 for most of the seasons that I've played. If I don't play them, then I don't rank in them. I do a lot of coaching. I currently coach two uni teams in collegiate, which is nice. I've done coaching for personal individuals and others as well. I primarily main tank, depending on the seasons. So far, it's honestly been Sig, Mauga, JQ, Winston, and Diva. Those are my top tank choices, right? Today, we'll be going over VOD and we'll be going over macro and micro. The micro coaching, a lot of it will be done by Ella, and Ella can introduce herself. She is a support main, and you can go right ahead.
Yeah, my name is Ella. I'm a support main, mostly playing Ana. I play like Kiriko, little bit of Lucio, but mostly Ana, Kiriko, Bab, stuff like that. Main healers, basically. Yeah, I'm a GM player. I've been playing this game for a couple years, probably. I'm usually duoing with Puddles, but yeah. I'm mostly focusing on, like Puddle said, just micro coaching, positioning mostly, stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice you, nice you. Well, I'm excited and ready whenever you guys are.
Sure. Okay. So we
Perfect.
wanted to start off with like basics
Mhm.
of just specifically on Ana, right?
Mhm.
So Ana is considered like this support, right? She is a main healer. And what that means, Puddles, do you want to explain?
So, before anyone continues, there's a difference between a main support and a main healer, right? So, main healer, what I consider a main healer is anyone who's consistently outputting a lot of healing, right? You're talking about your BAPs, you're talking about your Anas. Depending on the type of Life Weaver, you could just be farming as Life Weaver, right? It's just whoever's really your support players that can pump out those healing, as much healing as possible, right? Very different than main support. If you're talking about Overwatch 1, that's a whole different topic. So that's what really what Ana is, right? And you know that's what we consider main healers for these for the future interactions in this VOD.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So let's go over the basics of her kit. You see that she has a no scope, right?
Mhm.
This is projectile, so it's not hit scan. You don't hit them immediately, and you have this. You have a scoped in shot. This is hit scan, right? Think about the main difference between these two is literally the way in which you use it. So, if for example I'm using this as like a no scope, I'm staying at a pretty close distance, hitting things, right? Um, it's nice because you don't really have to think about like hard scoping, and this is better if, for example, Ana is not a very mobile hero. So sometimes you don't always want to be hard scoped because you can't see what's around you, right? So that's the main point of no scoping. I use it primarily when I'm mid range, not very far away.
Gotcha.
If I were to take a step back, I would mostly use my hard scope because I have a wider field of vision. So I can pay attention to more things around me because of that, this wider view vision. It's more reliable for me because I can hit more shots, and most Ana players I know hit more shots because of this.
Mhm.
Obviously, you shoot, you can damage enemies, 3-shot 200 HP enemies, and you can heal your teammates, right? So yeah, just keep in mind the difference between the two. There is a difference
Mhm.
in terms of when you use it. And there is also tech, like additional tech, like a quick scope. This is very useful. I don't usually go over it as much as like Puddles toasts the importance of it a lot. I think it is very useful in times where you need to hit those quick shots
Mhm.
because of the fact that when you're scoped in, you see the triangle around my crosshair,
Yeah.
you'll still hit your teammates,
Yeah.
basically. This only applies to teammates, but
Yeah.
Like you see how if you need to heal like a Genji or something, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to quick scope or to scope in because they move very fast and
Mhm.
it's easier to try to hit these easier shots because you can hit just within the triangle. You can't do that with quick scopes with no scopes basically. So
Yeah.
there's a main difference. You have your sleep dart. Obviously, it puts people to sleep.
Mhm.
And then you have your nade, which anti-nade basically is a form of like anti-nade basically just reduces takes away their health, right? But it also denies enemy healing.
Mhm.
So if this person's antied, they're not going to be healed until that anti effect wears off, right? So you use that, like think about like a hog v hog duel, right? You can nade your hog, the enemy hog, and your hog at the same time.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, basic stuff.
Okay.
Your sleep dart is a hard CC, and what that means is hard crowd control. It stops the enemy in its tracks. He can't use any of his abilities at all until he wakes up.
Mhm.
So this is good for self-defense if you need it, or if you want to make a play, you can like sleep the enemy tank or an enemy tracer or something.
Mhm.
You can possibly get a pick with it. And your nano boost basically is just that. It's a nano boost. It basically just allows the enemy, it basically allows your teammates to shoot better, shoot and do more damage. Gives them damage reduction, so they take less damage when they're being shot at. It also heals them. Almost full HP. I think the tanks are, I don't know exactly the numbers, but I think the tanks
300.
are like 300.
100 HP. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 300 HP gives them that much boost. So if you're nano boosting like a squishy, they'll be full health instantly, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main thing that I want like to talk about in terms of the importance of Ana's kit is basically just your shooting.
Yes.
So just knowing when to shoot like no scope and when to quick scope or when to hard scope. Quick scoping you can learn with time. It's a
Yes.
mechanic that, you can learn, but hard scoping, knowing the difference between these two, that's basically like the most important thing, I think,
Okay.
at this point. But anything you want to add for?
So the one thing about the difference between the hard scope and quick scopes is just one is instant and one
Yeah.
is projectile, as she said, right? So when you're talking about those close, let's say you're Genji stashing in and he immediately gets really low,
Yeah.
that's the situation where you either A, you're good enough that you can quick scope in and save him, or B, you understand that the aim isn't there, but you know that you need to heal him very fast, which means you hard to hard scope, right?
Yeah.
That's where like you understanding your own skill level as an Ana player is very important. It's like, hey, can I land this shot quick scope? Nope, immediately hard scope because he's low, and that's the only way that healing is gonna get there in time. Whenever you see someone say, "Oh man, I just missed it," or "Oh, I was like 1 second off," the
Yeah.
difference between that 1 second could be a quick scope versus a hard scope.
Mhm.
Someone who's a very good quick scoper will make that shot because even though the animation isn't there on the quick scope, the full triangle still applies to that quick scope. So you don't
Makes
have to
sense.
be near them at this when you're doing. I mean, you don't have to be. The crosshair doesn't have to be near them either when you're quick scoping. It can be like right there. She zooms out. She zooms right back in that same area. Automatically, the triangle still counts. That's the real advantage of the quick scope, and that's why it's very important, especially in these chaotic mid fights or overtime fights or ulting fights. Quick scoping sometimes can be the difference between winning a game or losing a round. Right?
I always tout like just good positioning over good mechanics. And that's why I think that like quick scoping is a secondary thing you think of. But yes, he's correct. When you get into these games where sometimes just good positioning just can't win you games, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to be in there. And when you're in there, or sometimes you just find yourself in bad spots. So you can't always find a good spot for you to just stay in the back and shoot, right? So what the quick scope affords you is just that ease of time. So you don't have to relocate, you don't have to reach position, and you just quickly heal someone who needs it.
Gotcha.
Just like that. So it's like it's a supplement to your gaming, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So on to the next part of this coaching session. I think we'll go straight to the basics of comp and Overwatch 2, right?
Uh-huh.
What I like to say is Overwatch 2 is the comp is essentially the rank is made up of three big components. One is your win-loss ratio, two is your KDA stats, and three is the type of matches that you've won or lost,
Hmm.
right? What Overwatch likes to say is that all games are balanced. That is incorrect, right? They released a developer blog. In every single match, you are expected that one team has a 51% chance of winning and one team has a 49% chance of winning. What they mean that it's balanced is that they have balanced the teams in a way where the team that has a 51% chance of winning wins 90% of the time, right? Does
Hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So as a player, it's very important for you to identify when you load into a game and say, like, what type of match is this, right?
Hmm.
It's the first thing I do. It's the first thing, most other players do. You can immediately tell within the first minute what team just has the slight advantage. The reason why at higher levels it's easier to tell, and the best example is to say, let's say we had two groups, and I told one group they have to carry 1,000 pounds, and I told another group they have to carry 1,100 pounds, right?
Hmm.
That 100 pounds, you think it's not a lot, but you don't know if that fifth person on your team, the fourth person on your team, can take on an additional 20,
Yeah.
right? That might mean that your first and second person, instead of equally having to take the 25 extra pounds that's now been allocated, or the 20 extra pounds have been allocated, they might now have to take 30, and those other people might have to take 20, 20, and 10.
Hmm.
And that's where, someone says you're being carried or someone just got carried this game.
Hmm.
The matchmaking is balanced in the way that statistically their system is correct at a 90% win rate, right? So the system knows like this team should have the advantage, this team should win. So those are the three components of Overwatch.
Gotcha.
When you load into a game too, right? It's very important to understand the matches that you win and that you lose based on the match ranking and rating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debate about this. Someone like me, I've literally played on, I don't know, 20, 30 alts. Everyone who plays with me knows this. I can get them all from Broads 5 to GM, top 5. It doesn't matter, right? The same strategy is the same way. When you load up into a game, if I'm plat 1, right, and I load into a D4 lobby that is higher than my current rank, and I win that rank, and I win that game matters more
Hmm.
than if I lost the one that's a plat 1 lobby, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
problem is, let's say you lose one that's a plat 4 lobby, right? You're a plat 1 player who lost in a plat 4 lobby. That's how the system essentially decides your MMR
Hmm.
and your rank, right? If you're losing games where you should have won, that is bad.
Yeah.
If you're winning games where you should have lost, that is good. That's where all these players that say, as long as you're good, you can win.
Hmm.
They're correct. If you're better than the current play, right, that means you're proving the matchmaking wrong, and that's exactly how you climb. The
Hmm.
theory behind this in Overwatch is that if you play enough games and you improve, that 1%, let's say you play 100 games, and you win out of those games 55 and you lose 45, you should have technically gone up in rank, right? Because those extra 5 games matter and
Hmm.
you won those extra 5 games, right? That's the theory behind it. The problem is in Overwatch 2, what isn't accounted for are smurfs,
Hmm.
right? Cheaters and leavers.
Yeah.
In statistics, that's essentially your 5% deviation, right? Like your what people say your null factor, right? I know this is getting too crazy, but you can edit this out. But that's what I mean. The system can't identify these players.
Yeah.
It can for some of them, but it just doesn't know. Is someone going to crash their PC and just not boot up? Is someone cheating? It doesn't know. And that's where the frustration lies, right? Sometimes players will say, listen, I should have won that game and I didn't, and that stinks. Well, to be honest, if you think that you should have won that game, it's probably because the system made it so you should have won that game. So that game is going to hurt your rank up.
Yeah.
There's no bottom line to it. Like, you lost a game that you should have won. Me and Ella here, we play so many games together. We know that if we lose a game we should have won, that usually means we're not ranking up.
Yeah.
If we lose 2 games that we should have won, we're not ranking up because the games aren't going to get easier,
Yeah.
right? That's how it works.
Yeah, it makes
In the
sense.
higher levels, it doesn't really matter because like you lose 2, you win 2. It is what it is,
Yeah.
right? You're still up there. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, the other part of this that I like to point out is your KDA.
Hmm.
It's very important.
Yeah.
People say it doesn't matter. It does matter. So your KDA is just essentially your kill deaths per life, right? Or assist if you want to do it that way.
Hmm.
Everyone who plays at a higher level knows that dying less amount of times is better,
Yeah.
right? You always want to live as long as possible. You don't want to feed. You want to increase your stats per
Hmm.
10. I like to do your stats per 10 are very important. Even if when you're losing games, you should try to avoid as a player of taking unnecessary deaths. When you're winning your games, you should also try to avoid taking unnecessary deaths, right? That does hurt the system saying, why did this person die? More than it should. What it does is compares people in the same rank as you and say, are you doing better or worse? Now, in Overwatch 1, the way this worked is up until Diamond, your SR gain would be based off your stats as well as your wins.
Hmm.
After Diamond, that would taper off. It was like a flat rate of, I think it was 30 or 20, like around there per win. And that's the max that you would get. Once you got to GM top 500, you'd be lucky to get five SR per win. That's how slim the margins were between games. Think about it. Like you're getting 5 SR is even if you play 10, 15 minutes of this game, you're only 5 SR better than that team.
Yeah.
Like that's really what it is when you're at that level. That's what it is. It's 5 SR. But when you're also at that level, 1% is exponentially more important. Like a 1% difference is a 1% difference. So that's exactly how it is in Overwatch 2. A lot of the components.
Hmm.
Um, so I like to tell players who are climbing, you definitely got to care about your stats, but you also have to understand the games that you're winning, the games you're losing. If you're telling me you won all the games that were below your rank, right? Let's say you're P1 and you won 5 games in P4, but you lost all the D5 games. How is the system going to say that you deserve a rank up?
Yeah.
And that's the best way to just simplify it. So I always tell players if you're trying to rank up and you're telling me you're not ranking up, tell me what games you lost, tell me the
Hmm.
lobby of the games, and I'll tell you why. Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's just like the structure of comp in Overwatch 2. It's a lot of, theory based, but a lot of it is actual just from everyone who plays the game at a high level. You just kind of understand how the system just works.
Yeah.
That's why whenever someone does unranked to GM, I look at it and I say that's 5 games, 15 games. That's literally what it takes. If you're really a GM player, a top
Hmm.
100 player, it takes you 15 games, to essentially get to GM because you place the account in like mid masters.
Yeah.
So, and the system knows that, so it automatically just gives you that rank after 2 or 3 cards.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's
Mm.
not, I don't approve of those games just because of the fact that you're just, it's not that hard to do that at that level if you're 100% trying the game. Like it's
Hmm.
expected of you. If you're a really great player, it's expected that you would be very good at the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I look at it. So that's what really unranked GM is a lot of the times. If they're doing it for educational purpose, different story.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna load up into the game next. The game that we actually ended up picking was the Route
Okay.
66 game.
Okay.
We're going to be going into this game here. We're going to be discussing things about Ana, your strengths, your weaknesses, the comp structures, identifying what you should identify within the first minute of the game, right? And how
Hmm.
that all plays into the bigger scope of just how the game just unfolded here.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll be talking a lot of the macro stuff. Ella here has a couple of sections that she's already noted down where she'll go over the micro of
Okay.
your Ana gameplay, which is very important. But we'll definitely be focusing on the macro stuff. What I like to say is, and you can pause it right here actually, because I got
Mm-hmm.
a little much. What I like to say is, as a support player, um, your value, right, lies in staying alive, saving your teammates, using your cooldowns to stop enemy engagements, ults, using your
Hmm.
ults properly with your team, and engaging with the team, right? In this case with Ana, it's your offensive nades versus defensive nades,
Hmm.
right? Your nanos,
Mm-hmm.
offensive nanos, what I call defensive nanos, or what Squish says, I'm just nanoing to keep you alive. Like I know you might not
Yeah.
use your ult, like, but I'm just keeping you alive, and you living with nano is far more
Calling
important.
my big and scary nanos.
Exactly. Just act scary.
Yeah.
Like
Yep. Yep.
give me time to reposition, readjust as a player here, and we can re-engage after this happens. But just
Mm-hmm.
live,
Yeah.
right? And with Kiriko, right? You play Kiriko and Mercy, but Kiriko's easier. It's like your defensive cleanses
Hmm.
versus offensive rushes. Like that's a very big differential. Your cleanses really are meant to kind of stop the enemy from engaging or
Hmm.
killing your teammates, but your rush should always, in my opinion, be used offensively. You should never
Yes.
be using a Kiriko rush defensive, right?
As a general rule of thumb, I try to make it so that I'm in a position where I would know I won't be needing the healing as
Mm-hmm.
much to nade myself or whatever. If you need to nade your tank because they're super low, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But as a general rule, I prefer to do aggressive nades,
Yes.
trying to save myself as much as I can so that I can save the nade for making progress rather
Yes.
than trying to stop them from backing us up, right?
Yes. I've found
So,
myself to be doing that a lot in the past, but I'm like easing into that more a lot. And same with
yes.
Kiriko, like not over
Mhm,
cleansing.
mhm. The reason why we do this is often just because of the way that we play. It's
Mm-hmm.
the way that we position ourselves to where maybe we're in danger or we don't see our team as much as we should be able to.
Yeah.
And what happens is you're needing to overcompensate. So, what you're basically trying to do is play in a way that you don't have to overcompensate for all these things. And instead, you can reallocate your resources to being more aggressive onto them instead
Gotcha.
of trying to save yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean,
But you can,
immediately, if you want to go, okay.
perfect. So you can just play it off right now. I think the most important thing is me or Squish. I think you're. Oh, there it is. It is. The second you come out, right, within the first 30 seconds, you always want to play really safe to identify three things, right? The way I look at it is who is your biggest threat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is the easiest person that can get to you, which is flankers, Winston dives, right? And also identify if there are any one-shotters on the enemy team,
Mm-hmm.
right? As an Ana player, you have to stay alive. And you say this in the games that I play. Like if my Ana's dying every single engagement, I'd rather they go play carry, right? If they play carry and stay alive, that's more value to me than they coming out of spawn and immediately dying,
Yeah.
right? So those are the three things that I like to say. Like you have to identify that very early because this dictates how you will position and how you will rotate on your engagements. So you can pause it right here if you'd like, right? So on this map, right? Let's say if they had a widow,
Mm-hmm.
right? You peeking around that corner prior to your team zoning out a widow on the top right or top left would expose you to a one shotter,
Yeah.
right? Let's say they had Winston and Genji, and you're very far forward. That will expose you to be within Winston's jump range. As an Ana player, you should always, let's say you're playing against these team comps,
Mm-hmm.
always be outside of Winston's jump and always be outside of Genji's dash.
Yeah.
So,
That's
if
like the
you were to look
safest
at it
rule
from this,
of engagement.
yes. Um, so if you were to look at it from a perspective of like opening over here, if they're shooting at you here, usually teams take this high ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a clear view of you. What I do as an Ana is I never try to walk into this main spot.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the main fight is happening. This is where your tanks are usually fighting, right? This is where the fire is being shot at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have this great angle here where you can peek your tank and you won't get shot at, right? It's all about sight lines for Ana. What sight lines do you have? And does the team like have the ability to see you? Obviously
Yeah.
not, because you're not peeking, right? Um, so when you slowly transition and your team slowly moves up, you're gonna have to move up with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the reason I don't like walking straight down main is because look, you're just open to the world.
Yeah.
You're like naked and afraid, basically. So, um, maybe go here, right? Um, maybe stay here. That's fine. You can just peek left and right. But I like to go here. And usually by this point, my team's able to like capture some space. You can walk up, maybe push the cart a little bit, which you did, which is good. Um, but as we go into like the next 10 seconds is where I want you to get off the cart.
Mhm.
So we've won
One,
the fight. We've identified this, right? How does
Yeah.
you
right?
want to keep?
Yeah, so
Yep.
you've won a team fight, which is great. Everything about Ana in Overwatch is about pre-rotations, right? You won the team fight. Where can you move next that will give you an advantage for the next engagement, right? So that's one thing you have to understand. That's like very important for Ana. Like I expect my Ana to be constantly rotating based on LOSs, based on ability cooldowns. Like if my Ana use nade and sleep, she should be hugging a health pack soon enough, or be
Yeah.
within a Kiriko TP range, or be near a Mercy because now they're essentially exposed. That's what I call it. The other aspect about why you want to play sidelines and play safe, especially as you're climbing, is you're again back to the KDA, right? Let's say we had lost this team fight immediately, and you had played safe farther back. That still gives you the ability to probably peel out and not take that death,
Yeah.
right? When you get into higher levels, you'll understand too that sometimes just dying on cart, get the faster reset is better because they're not gonna let you get out, right? Like I'm not letting an Ana get out if I just wipe the whole team. Like I'm pushing and I'm telling my team to push. Depending on the rank, they might let you get out, right? So try to save your KDA and minimize your deaths as much as possible in support, because that's just going to help your MMR in the long run.
Got it.
So
So
what
we
Squish is
can
going to talk about right now is essentially you've won this team fight, right?
Mhm.
With your tank, right? This is why, like, I think tanks and supports, they always have to communicate, right? Your job now is to start your rotation and get ready for the next engagement. This is where awareness is very important.
let's
Based on
watch
when
this
they
play out.
died, you'll know, and then right after this, you'll know that they possibly have one last touch,
Yeah.
and that's why this is important.
So we watch this play out. You're standing on cart, right? Right now, it's very safe for you to move to whatever position you want. But let's just see. So you know they're coming back, right? So you notice how you naturally start drifting backwards anyways?
Mhm.
Because you know you're kind of in the shit right now.
Yeah.
This is what happened.
Yeah.
The reason that you don't stay here is because Ana is a very immobile hero. She is a granny with like one eye. So, she cannot run away very fast.
Mhm.
You had ample time to get out and go to a safer spot.
Be
What
in a
I
safe spot, yeah.
recommend instead of this is because you don't need to drift so far forward to see your team, right? You have the ability to use your hard scope as I mentioned,
Yep.
and it is a projectile, right? And with Ana, best thing to do is to try to take high ground as much as you can because it gives you better sight lines. So what I like to do when we're moving it to around here, the cart's around here, right? I like to go up here. You can either take these stairs if you're lucky to have that positioning, or you can take up here, right?
Mhm.
And usually I tell Puddles like, okay, I'm getting off the cart, you take it, and I'll just pass it off to him. Look at this sight line.
Yeah.
Do you see your team better
Yep.
than on cart, right? You don't have to 180.
Yep.
So you see your team better. You have natural cover, so you're not getting shot at. You won't get bonked, right? You can get nade angles, right?
Mhm.
You can nade your tanks. Generally safer. You can also play up here. I would consider this more of an aggressive angle, but possibly you can 1v1 if you wanted to. Just know that you're exposing yourself more.
Mhm.
This is the most exposed you can be.
Yeah.
You are yeah. So just keep in mind, like, what I will say is what I notice in your play is that you often seem to drift far forward a little bit more than you should. And I think that comes from a place of maybe you just don't think about pre-rotating before
Yeah.
every fight, but I also think it's the fact that maybe you don't think you'll hit your shots.
Mhm.
So you default to no scoping. And
Mhm.
you know how I said you have to be in close range to no scope?
Yes.
So this is an instance where you don't need it. This is an instance where you can fall back, you can hard scope, all will be good. You're in a generally safe spot if you fall back.
Let your tank absorb all the damage and be a damage sponge, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes
yes,
sense.
yes. And I don't want to say it's just because of that we lose the fight, but we lost the healer, and fight was ultimately we didn't win the point.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say here is I know that we want to get there early, but we always want to wait for at least our tank to be
Mhm.
back before we peak. Just because in higher elos, and this is just setting you for success in the future, there could be someone just waiting for you to get out of spot, and they will one tap you.
And ready.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another spot where the same thing happens basically.
Mhm.
So we're winning these team fights because we're just better. And we know they're coming soon. This is fine because you're obviously not in any potential danger. Your team's pushing up as they should.
Mhm.
This is the bend where you start to expose yourself. Because you know they have the Ash, right?
Yeah.
And let's see. Let's play it out. I like it. Scoping in. Good. At this point, I would tell my tank, like Puddles,
Fall back.
can you take the point here?
Or
Fall back,
yeah,
take
yeah.
the point.
Mhm.
Because as soon as you take this curve, right, suddenly you go from the enemy has no sight lines of you to they see everything.
Vulnerable. Mhm.
Vulnerable. Yes, vulnerable. You never you know that they're gonna probably fight when the card is around here.
Mhm.
Just thinking about like they're dead now, so they're gonna try to retake around here, right? You don't need to be here, but I'll just show you what you do instead.
Like this right here, like as much as we want to be pushing cart,
Yeah.
it's really not your responsibility at this point,
Mhm.
right? So I don't think that the enemy team touches, but you should they do. You should never be like that
They
close
do.
to the enemy team, because one thing, if like that team was any better and according to that dive, you just use both your cooldowns on and your experts.
You
Yeah,
see
no,
how you
that
naturally drifted back again?
yeah.
But imagine if we had stayed back here in the first fight. What I like to do is I like to tell Puddles to get on point, and then I go like take the stairs-ish, or I just like honestly I just shoot down main. Because they don't have much to see. Like if they're up top, usually Puddles can either get them down or
Mhm.
you just like hug the wall,
Mhm.
right? Not much else you can do. But like being in it, they have a monkey
Mhm.
and he can bubble everything. So like even if you wanted to be close by to like hit your shots or whatever, you're gonna have a monkey in your face anyways. Best thing to do is to like what you're doing now, just shoot down
Mhm.
from main, right? Just a little bit far away. Um, let's put this back. Actually, I want to see something.
The knee gets blocked.
It does.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, see, the shield hit it right there. Hit the
Mhm.
shield.
We're still trying to no scope, but you
Mhm.
notice how as you walk back, suddenly you don't really have the ability to like hit your shots because
Yeah.
first of all you're shooting slower just in general because it
Yep.
is a projectile and you do have to like wait between every shot. um if you were to hard scope, I don't know if Puddles would live, to be honest, because he's already low, but maybe you can hit like a more precise shot.
Yeah.
Either way, it's just better because you don't really have to worry about something going around
Yeah, that
flying
makes
to you.
sense.
You know that they're all preoccupied and going to them. um It
One,
just makes you more consistent because I noticed like you hit more shots anyways when you scope in,
Yes.
right? So
I'll talk more about this on the defensive side, but as an Ana player, when you're playing against shields like Sigmas or Winston's,
Mhm.
unless you see the shields come out, always assume they have. And
that was a good kill from
really good
the.
Winston players will zone you out. Really good Sigma players will block off your heals with just
Yeah.
shield placement.
Mhm.
So it's very imperative that you understand, like, hey, they might have shields. Like, let me not just throw my nade out there and hope for the best.
Mhm.
Let me either A, wait for it to see where the shield is, so then I
Yep.
can nade from a different angle, or B, wait for the bubble to come out. And then
Yeah,
burst it down on
another
the nade. Now, there are
another good
different
play.
Ana playstyles. You can pause it here for that. There are different Ana playstyles where you can be very aggressive. Like, I have no problem if my Ana is extremely aggressive. Like, another Ana might have gone into that bubble where that Winston was earlier,
Mhm.
slept him, teabagged him, and then naded him, and then walked out. I'm not kidding. Like, Anas do that. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
Winston player. Sometimes
Mhm.
Anas, they always land their sleep. They always land their nades. They know how to dance around the bubble, just like I know how to dance around the bubble, right? So if you want to be an aggressive Ana, you're 100% able to do that. No problem. I have no problem with it. With that being said, right, land your shots. So if you want to be aggressive, and I say this to everybody, if you want to be a very aggressive Ana, go for it. But
Yeah.
you better land all your shots. Because
Mhm.
if you're not landing shots, you're just gonna die as an aggressive Ana. So,
Hmm.
but
And there's different ways to be aggressive too. You can be aggressive like position wise with like maybe you're DPSing more than you're healing,
Yeah.
maybe you nade more, right? There's many different ways to be aggressive with Ana. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I'll just show you this part. Here. This is, I would call this an awareness error. So you go for a sleep, that's great. You stand still for some reason. Girly is standing here. Bye. Like she's gone. Okay.
Remember
So
what I said earlier? Like sometimes you gotta let your teammates die.
Yeah.
Sometimes you try to make the play, it creates more chaos than you kind of want it to. So sometimes it's okay. Sometimes your teammates are gonna die. You can't save
So
everybody.
the reason why you did this is, again, this is positioning error, yes.
Mhm.
But the reason why you even took this position is because of the fact that you didn't know, maybe you didn't know like that you would be able to hit puddles here, right?
Yeah.
So you drift forward because you see that monkey is doing monkey things and you want to hit your shot, and it just takes a second too slow for you to realize that these are here.
They're all
But
there. Yeah.
you have to notice the importance of, you don't have to be here to hit anything to help.
Mhm.
You can hit sleep dart from back here. You can scope in if you wanted to. You don't even need to scope in. You could scope out if you want, because you're not in immediate danger. The moment you put yourself in danger is the moment you start walking, right?
Mhm.
Because at the level that we're playing at, I know you know that the rest of the team's gonna be here if it's just the monkey coming in, right?
Yeah.
And if the monkey is gonna be diving, whatever he's doing, he's kind of stupid in this situation. But like whatever he's doing, right? They know, you know, that the team is gonna follow the monkey. So the natural the natural path they're gonna take, they're gonna walk down main, or they're gonna look down main.
Yeah.
You got looked at and you died, right?
Yeah.
So that's all. You have to be aware of when to
Awareness.
use
Mhm.
like your shots, when to use scoped in, when to stay back, when to not push forward for those shots that you can shoot from a farther distance if you need it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
Like
fine.
this
You
angle
sleep the
would be what
bot.
I would have said should have been your previous angle.
Yeah.
Because you can still see everybody, right? You can still end your sleeps, your nades, everything like that, even
Mhm.
nano if you have to.
So this was a bad play. If you want, I'll just show you it is again. So we go back, we see the monkey's nanoed. The reason, okay, so you die here. The reason why this I'm not too happy with is because of the fact that you drifted here, which is fine,
Yeah.
but you didn't really need to.
Mhm.
And if you know that you're alone in this space, I don't have immediate LOS on you, right? I'm kind of blocked off. They nanoed the monkey, he's up here. The reason that like you're supposed to run in this situation is because like he got nanoed and he saw you throw the sleep dart. You missed it, whatever, it's fine. But if you're gonna miss, you have to run immediately. I think you took a split second too late to realize that he's coming for you. Let's see. Try to heal buds. It's fine. Again, defenses versus offensive nade. I think you could have just healed him, but that's
Mhm.
okay. You go for a sleep dart.
Right there,
He
both your
notices
cooldowns are
you.
done. Yep, your cooldowns have both been used. You, like I said, you immediately now have to hug health packs or be with an LOS of your other healer.
Mhm.
Yes.
Immediately. The
So
one thing I will also say is on the best way to think about your positioning is wherever the fight is occurring or wherever your tank is. Think of a 45-degree angle to the left of your tank or to the right of your tank, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you ideally want to be positioned as Ana. Now, that can be on the low ground, that can be on the high ground, that can be near a health pack, that can be outside a health pack. A 45-degree angle, right? So like let's say if
this.
you're farther back, you could have you take cover to the right, you take cover to the left. You take cover to the right. If you need to, you can even go, nade yourself, or if there was another mini or another health pack on the different type of the map, there could be. That's how you would play it. So you look at where the fight's gonna happen, you're gonna do 45 to the left, 45 degrees to, and just thinking about that going forward will help you a lot with your positioning. Because if you say, am I too far forward? Am I 45
Yeah.
degrees? Right now you're at 90, right?
Yeah.
Like this might be something, a position like a Kiriko might take. because a Kiriko can hit the dinks, right, and then run away.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, Ana can't do that. So this is what we would call like an overextension. I understand you try to make the play on the Winston, and honestly, if you land that sleep, I have zero problem. You made an aggressive play. You saw the Winston. You landed the sleep. Perfect. No one else is going to shoot him. Their nano gets no value,
Yeah.
right? And this is what I mean. Like, if you want to be aggressive like this, no problem. If you land your shots, right? Once you start not landing those shots, not landing those cooldowns, not landing those utilities like sleep, now it's like, okay, like I got to change the play style here, right? At the current rank that I am to get more value for the rest of my team.
Hmm.
Yep, totally agree. Thing is, like if you're gonna play like this 90 degree, you have to understand that this is kind of what I would consider a flank. I sometimes like when we're fighting a team, let's say the enemy team's like all over here and Puddles is here. Sometimes you can go to the left, maybe land a nade, and I would call that a flank. Just know that if you do this, you have to understand what your escape routes are. Do you run back immediately? Do you stay here? Do you think your tank is going to push up with you to where you don't have to run away and you can maybe do some damage, or you can maybe heal your tank as he walks in? But this was just not worth it in terms of you didn't hit your shot and you didn't run away, right? Your two options in this case, as soon as you notice that you not landed your sleep dart, you see me here.
Hmm.
Honestly, you can probably walk down main. This is probably a bad idea, but sometimes I do this. Because I know that I'm in sight and I probably have cleanse. You can walk towards your other healer, or you just have to immediately walk backwards, basically. In this case, you die. It's just like it's 1 second too soon or too late, so I can't blame you too much for that, but yeah. And I also was slow too. Let's see. Come back to the fight. You have Nano. We see that the Genji on our team also has Nano. I think in this case, Puddles tells you we should Nano early.
Hmm.
My main gripe with this
She has great with this. I don't have great with this because I
it's a little
pinged it.
too early.
I
It's
pinged it.
a little too early.
No, this is up for interpretation. Someone else can decide. Comment section can decide this. Because your tank here, right, is taking up the godly space as he should, and is pinging them coming out of spawn. I've already checked the right side of spawn and noticed no one is coming out. That is why I'm walling left, because I know no one's on the right. That means I have to assume that they're going to come through the left. I then ping the Ana that's on the left, which means the Genji now knows where the Ana is.
Mhm.
That's the reason I said nano early. Now, I didn't mean now. I'll be honest with you. I didn't mean now, but I pushed forward enough so I could ping to the Genji so they would know where the supports or the teammates are coming out to spawn. That's why I did it this way. Now, Squish, you can now say what you think about this play.
So I agree that we should have nanoed early. I think I said it also. But the difference is that you nanoed him off cart. And I don't think he called for it. And the thing is like usually it's fine if you just don't give them warning, whatever it is, whatever. But the only people out of spawn are Ana.
Yeah.
And they could as easily just drift backwards as soon as they hear the Genji or the Nano, right? It's good that if we play it back, he actually does get like 2 kills with it or something. So it's very good that this happened. But imagine if you're in a game with you don't have Puddles here as a tank. This top 500 guy, playing in your games, ruining their lives. He knows to push forward and look for picks and look for stuff with the Genji. Not every tank has that ability.
Yeah.
And also the fact that when you're playing other lobbies, maybe the enemy team is better and they know to back up, right? My general rule of thumb when I'm nanoing or when we're trying to go for like a nano blade is I wait until, let's say, the tank is pushing up to us or like they're just trying to get ready for a fight. As soon as that happens, I pop it because I know that they're in a position where they're getting ready to engage us, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Let's say only the tank goes forward, so the rest of the team then has to follow. That's the time when I want to nano. But it's just me being nitpicky, to be honest. It's just, to me, it's a very early nano.
No, it makes sense.
which could be easily like countered if the enemy team were any better. So you see, this is fine. But again, we're drifting forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? This was a good nade. I like the kill on Cass, to be honest. But from here onwards, I would not try to take this angle. I would try to just
Be further back.
here.
Mhm.
Because the thing about like playing with a tank is if they're low, it is, yes, it's your responsibility to keep them alive within reasonable position.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is the fact that like your tank, you have the responsibility to heal your tank. Your tank has a responsibility to play in a good, safe angle to where you're able to heal them too, right? Sometimes tanks have to push up. It is what it is. Sometimes they die. Sometimes you die. Whatever.
Mhm.
But in this case, you could have been back here and you could have been like, "Hey, just letting you know, I'm playing back now. I'm handing the cart to you, right? So just play main so that I can see you. Always call your LOS when you're playing with a tank if you're in comms, right? Just call for your LOS. Hey, I'm playing main. Peek left, peek right.
Play
Something
left
like
side of
that.
cart, play right side of
Play like
cart.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So after that kill on Ash, I would have drifted back. Do you see how you're having to 180 your
Yeah.
your crosshair around, just to get to everybody, to look at the enemy team as
Mhm.
well as look at your team?
When I could literally just be looking straight at him.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
You can take this, like maybe high ground. I don't know. Get creative with it. Try
Mhm.
what works with you. I like to just go to main because I'm basic. But yeah, like
No,
plus the fact that like again you're quick scoping, or sorry, no scoping. It's fine. You can hit shots with that for sure. I just want you to consider a different angle, different approach where you can just like hard scope because the Lucio has to like revolve around the point, the payload just to
Mhm.
avoid your team. So there's definitely a point where he's gonna have to look here. You want to cover all angles, and you have this, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And every single fight, see, you naturally drift backwards farther and farther back because you know this, right? It's just more of like a pre-rotation thing. Are you
Mhm.
thinking about this beforehand, before the fight starts? Or are you just like kind of reactive?
Mhm.
As an Ana player, you always want to try to play proactively rather than reactively. So you're thinking ahead of time rather than just reacting to what's happening. Because oftentimes, if you're just playing reactively and you're reacting to the scene in front of you, it's already too late, right?
Yeah, correct.
So this is good. I like that you're just scoping down. You could throw a nade here. Yep, good. Again, this is where quick scoping
Mhm.
could have helped. Like Puddle says, he really likes that Honest play learn quick scope because you missed a few shots on me. Maybe like
But the quick
if it
scoping would
was
have
against
really
you or
helped.
something. Yeah, you could have quick scope because the triangle, remember? You can heal
Yes.
in the triangle. Easier to
It,
hit your shots.
it's
Yeah.
not for the tanks. It's really for the DPS. Like the DPS can get deleted so fast. Like you're talking about Genjis, you're talking about soldiers,
Yeah.
like even a tracer. Like they can get one tapped immediately almost. So just
Mm-hmm.
being able to just let's say you one tap the Genji to get him
Uh-huh.
to like 75% health and then come back and heal a tank. Like that is just a good skill to have as you're climbing through Ano. Because the higher you climb, the room for mistake just gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's just how comp is, right? That's what differentiates people from top 500 all the way down to like bronze 5. It's really how consistently good you are at using
Mhm.
your hero.
Yep. So we can take a second to consider what team comps they had basically throughout this whole game. They were playing pretty similar comp to us, right, buds? We saw it. Let's look back. So yeah. Oh, actually no, they were more divey, I guess, with their monkey and their they were playing monkey and ball basically.
Yeah,
But they always
essentially
had an Ash. They had a Ana Zen most of the game, right?
their team comp was actually garbage. Like that's the way I would look at it, because you're
Yeah.
sending a Winston to my backline, which
Uh-huh.
is Kiriko Ana. right?
But he doesn't have the DPS to
And he
follow
has
at all.
0
Yeah.
DPS that's gonna follow, because as he's doing that, I'm gonna be
Not even a
zoning the
support.
heals. Yeah, I'm gonna be zoning their heals from their Ana, and at least zoning one other DPS with poke from my own end, which means essentially the Winston is gonna be 1v4ing us while we can just kill him and then push up on the rest of their team. And that's
Yeah.
essentially what we did throughout the game.
Yeah.
That's why
And
team
you're
comps matter. Like if I had been running this with, like, if you were on the flip side of this, I would probably say you would want like an Ana Kiriko,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Because at least the Kiriko can kind of help the Winston. Like even using Rush with Winston there, so that way Winston can actually get a kill on this backline would have been crucial. But the way they're playing it right now, even if you nano the Winston like they did earlier, unless that Winston lands on 4 people that are nated and the Kiriko on the other team on, like, let's say Ella doesn't have cleanse, the value there is going to be very minimal, and it's not really that scary.
To be honest, the reason why is because you don't even have a support to go in with him.
Yeah.
So you're only this is why like Ana here is a great pick because like your only real downside is if maybe the monkey jumps you. That's your only, I guess, counter you could say. Because as soon as he jumps you, he has bubble and maybe it'll be harder to land your nade or your sleep or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Otherwise, like, yeah, Ash and like Zen or Cass can shoot you, yes, but generally they won't have the positioning to be able to do so because they have a monkey and they don't have, let's say, a Sig to like push up and make put a shield down for them so that they have like space. And they're also getting harassed by Genji and like Echo, so they have a trash comp. So you're in a very good spot to play Ana,
Gotcha.
essentially. But yeah, team comps matter. That's just like a very brief thing I just wanted to go over. Let's see here. This is a pretty good Ana map, I would say. It's good because there's high ground. There's a lot of sightlines. Like here is that I think you go for pretty aggressive nades here. Oh well.
I
Puddles
hate
is
that. Yeah,
Thanks.
Puddles is a fatty.
I wanted extra healing.
Yeah. Puddles is a fatty. He does this all the time. This is fine.
All on pockets.
Good nade there. Good. Doing fine. Our team was clearly better, so
Mhm.
I think right here, one thing that is important for you to understand is that you know that they ran dive earlier, right?
Yes.
You don't know if they're gonna run
Yes.
it again. But just keep in mind when you're using those. I keep seeing like nade sleep, nade sleep, nade sleep. Like try to keep one on cooldown with, like, let's say instead of using it immediately, try to give it a couple seconds before you use it, just to buy you enough time for, like, let's say your nade to come back on.
So you have one, yeah.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Our Ash sucks. I think our Echo also
They were
does.
really bad Ash, if I remember correctly. They were a Genji player. There's like this saying going around, like, a hit scan player can't play flex and a flex player can't play hit scan.
So this is the
Just
rotation I want to
Uh-huh.
go over. So let's go back. So we know that they're pushing up now. You've recognized it. I can see that. So instead of that, we go here, and I think we eventually just drop down. This is fine actually, but the thing I want to highlight is you don't immediately need to take low ground
Yeah.
or like to rotate this way. Sometimes it's a necessity just because like you're getting pushed by all angles. But like usually if you're playing like with a Kiriko or with another DPS, they'll try to retain high ground as well. Like 2 people, maybe 3 will drop down to main. Because as soon as they take high ground control, they're just kind of looking at you, right? They just kind of like look over you. They're
Yeah.
looming over you. If you're able to fight back, it might be worth it because they don't really have anything to dive you except for like the diva. And this kind of comp with the Hanzo Ash, they thrive off high ground and having good angles to shoot from, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a point where I would say you can maybe choose to be aggressive if you wanted. You can 1v1. I think I 1v1. I don't know if I die or not. Maybe I do. I'm trash. But anyways, um, yeah, you can choose to stay high ground. Maybe if the Ash pushes, you can 1v1, possibly. You can look from here. I understand if you're getting shot at, you can drop down.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, sometimes I like to take this high ground. But yeah, like let's say the payload is here. Sometimes I like to take this high ground because I know there's cover here. And you just get free reign to shoot. They do see you though, so just be careful. They might either push you or they might try to shoot at you back. This could be aggressive or passive depending on how you play it around these like boulders here. Just know there's more angles you can take than just going down main, basically.
Another aspect of this at the macro level is, I don't know if you ever heard me during like our games, I'll say we're +1, we're +2, we're
Yes.
-2, we're -1 or
Mhm.
even. The second you're -1, you have to assume that the team's then gonna look to regroup real quick, heal up, and then re-engage the easiest target to kill. In this situation, right, like if I was them, I would probably be diving you, right? If not you, it'd be squish, right? They're not gonna try to kill me immediately, right? Because they're gonna say assume that I'm gonna have heals and cooldowns and shields, etc. So they're gonna go for you. So just the second you know that you're -1, right? Play a little bit more conservatively. Or if you have cooldowns or ults, you can then use your cooldowns or your ult to change it so maybe it's an even matchup, right? Let's say you ult our Genji, so then he gets 2 picks, now we were +1, right? That's the simplest way to say it is, you always want to be at 4v4, at 5v5, at 3v3. Even matchups, do your thing, play it like a regular game. I like to say, whenever you're down players, play conservatively. Whenever you're up players, you want to be more aggressive. The simplest way to think about it. But at higher elos, if I know you're down, you're one of your DPS, I would look at this if I was their diva, and I said, has she used sleeper nade? At the higher level, you're tracking that consistently. So as a tank on their team, if I was them, I would have tracked whether you used your native sleep, and if I know you did, I would dive you. If I know you hadn't, I would probably ask a Kiriko to come with me and then dive the Ana together.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Okay. Oh my god, our echo.
one shotters ran so much.
This was kind of unfortunate, but I can tell you're kind of like throughout that whole engagement, you're kind of more like looking around. I think maybe you were a little unsure of what to do in that moment. This is when pre-rotations matter, like what I just mentioned. This is when pre-rotations matter because what angle do you want to take? Do you want to be aggressive or do you want to be defensive in this case? Yeah. Do you want to DPS? Do you want to maybe land a nade on their enemies so that they don't have to push up as far? Because we are down 1, right?
Yeah.
Like at this point, I think we're down 2. Like this is we're just regrouping
Yes,
completely.
exactly.
Yep.
Now this is where this is just unfortunate. So I go in to try to touch point. They zone me with Hanzo ult. I was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much
There's
else
nothing
I
you
can
can do about this.
Yeah.
I will say I wouldn't go in because there's a possibility of you
Yeah.
getting out.
Yeah.
Do you live here? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Good kill. Okay, this nano okay, I want to say something about this nano. This could have been great had you killed the Ashe.
Yeah.
Since you didn't kill the Ashe, you're pushing backwards because now you're getting shot at. And you're like, oh, I'm scared. But now you can't heal this echo. And so what could have been a 2v2 became a 3v2.
Yeah.
Or sorry, what could have been a 2v2 became a 2v1, basically. Echo versus Hanzo and the Ana. Echo kills the Ana, which is great. Could have killed the Hanzo had she had healing, had this Ashe died, right?
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about, this is what Puddles was saying about +1, -1, right? If you're thinking about whether you want to pop nano or not, think about, they had 4, we reduced that to 2. So 2v2.
The
But
best
Ashe
way to
is
think
still
about
low.
it on this part is if you're gonna full send it there, right? The assumption is that you're full sending, you nade it yourself, and you nade it 2 of them. You have to follow that through.
Yeah. Be
Because
aggressive.
by you now backing up, you nanoed someone, but no longer can heal them, and now it's just unfortunate right here.
And I think this is kind of a confidence thing. To be honest, you could have definitely killed that Ashe. Because the thing about what I said about big and scary, Echo in that moment was big and scary.
Yeah.
She got nanoed. Sure, he got nanoed too, but like she got the Ana, right? So you know that the attention of the other players is not going to be on you except for the Ashe.
Yeah.
So if honestly, what I call it egoing, but you can just literally just 1v1. I would just walk in, punch her a few times, try to hit a shot,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have this angle here to heal your echo, basically. It's unfortunate the diva comes back, but honestly, we probably could have. There's a chance in which we win that, but just know if you're taking these risks, you do have to follow
Follow
through
up,
on
yeah.
your own
Mhm.
and follow up. It's not just as simple as nanoing sometimes. But yeah. Otherwise, like honestly, I wouldn't have seen this opportunity, but there is an opportunity there. I would have just backed off immediately, like as soon as we were like down puddles. I would just ran. But that's okay.
That was
So this
just
is where we notice this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Puddles are ultra aggressive, and the way we see an opportunity, we see that 2 people are on point right now, and there's only 3 in front of us. We also
Mhm.
have 3, right?
so it's a 3v3.
3v3.
If we all
So
clear and kill
we
either 1 or 2, it's essentially an even fight because they're not gonna push if I take out their tank on one of their
yes.
supports.
And we go for the Kiriko or the Ashe. So you see me going on Ashe, you
Yep.
see this guy going. Or sorry, I go on Kiriko, he goes on Ashe, right? Usually we'd like to be more united on that. It's kind of our bad. We kind of delayed
Yeah,
it, but
this is 100% on us too.
yeah, this is definitely on
I
us.
thought we were going on the hunt. I went left.
Yeah.
And then she said
So
pretty good. I was like, okay,
yeah.
I'm dead.
Thing
That's
about
me
this is
dying.
like we trade this though. So I kill one,
Mhm.
Puddles gets dead because he's bad. But anyways, I'm safely out.
This
And
might
in
do
this
everyone.
case, yes. Um we may be even,
Mhm.
but we are down a tank.
Mhm.
So best thing to do here is basically reposition and get out. So let's see what happens.
This was awful on our defense.
This is not good. Our Ashe is bad. I know that you want to save them, but sometimes like they're just bad, and you can't save bad. You cannot save bad. Oh my god.
All my support players.
Nah,
That's
nah,
what
nah,
the
nah, nah,
PS
nah, nah,
died.
nah, nah, nah. What the fuck was that? Nah, you don't run here, right? Okay. The reason I don't like this is because of the fact that we stayed down here for so long
Mhm.
that the enemy team was able to just reposition immediately, and they were able to. Ashe is already up here. She's just shooting.
Yeah.
Our Ashe is bad. Just let her fucking die. Like, you don't have to walk. Is another
Walk
thing with you
out.
drifting forward, and you don't
Mhm.
have to walk out to try to save her. If she dies, that's her
That
bad.
makes
I
sense,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, right. And even after, I think she dies. I don't know. Even after she gets away, yeah, she's alive. We're going out the wrong angle, and we just stay
Mhm.
down here. Best thing to do at this point, as an Ana, I would have just fucking fucked off. Sorry. I have to. I don't know. I should have ran off, right?
Mhm.
So I would have taken this angle here. And the reason why is because like I can just peek. Basically, there's not much I can do at this point if I were in Ana, because like I don't know where Puddles is right now. He's
I'm
just
still in
come out.
spawn.
Still
I was
spawning,
still
Oh, you're
good.
just
yeah.
you just came out. Thing is, we're just trying to like basically set up again so that we can
Mhm.
touch the point, right?
This is
So yeah,
where in
you can
lower
just back
elos
up.
it's
You
frustrating
can just like
because where I died, we had a guaranteed full touch if we
Yeah.
all regrouped. Because we then staggered and just sat here, let them get positioning advantage, right? We now don't have a push. And now it's essentially I come back as Winston to try to contest the high ground because I
Yeah.
expect that they're gonna have a high ground advantage now and I can't contest at a Sigma, right? So then I know that I come out as Winston to try to get that high ground, but I'm already down at DPS. So immediately I'm already to 4v5. And I know that they're going to be fighting payload. The problem when you get into these situations, right, is that they don't have to get off the payload. And they don't have to be on it or off it. They can play for picks, right, because they're down a person. The difference is that if they do play payload, we have to play payload.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they cap the point. So by that just scenario right there, they automatically have an advantage where they can force point fight. And let's say I'm forced to go point on this situation, who's now going to contest the high ground? Which is essentially what happens, right? Like I try to go high ground there, it's not going to work. Then I come back to point, but then I can't get the Hanzo and I can't get the Ashe on my own. And we lost our hit scan player, right? So
Yeah.
The
now
reason
we lost our Echo, which means now it's up to Ashe, right, to what contest both sides, plus me having to contest the point. It just becomes a really tough scenario. Instead of us just regrouping as a whole unit, as a team, we staggered, right? This is where
Yeah.
staggering is just such a bad thing that keeps happening.
This is why I didn't like the Ashe playing here, because she lost us the high ground, first of all. She could have maybe backed up to here, right? I don't know where she was playing, but either way, she should have backed up. That's the whole thing. So by us being here for so long, now we're forced in this position, as Puddle said.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing you can really do is try to maybe play here, peek out, hit a few shots. If not, that's fine. Just wait for your team to reposition.
Yeah.
Right. So Puddles is outside. We keep going here. And this is another thing. The angle you take on this side is pretty limited in terms of you're safe, kind of, but you can only really look here or here,
Mm-hmm.
right? From these two angles, or you have to push outwards. The Ashe is above us. I know that she's kind of a threat, but had we played here, maybe you can save Puddles before we even got in. You have a sight line onto the enemy
Mm-hmm.
to where you kind of have hard cover here, but also in this case, Puddles would be playing here, and he'd be kind of like blocking damage for you. So I would basically say he's being fat, and I can just kind of farm nano off of him, right?
So
yeah.
normally what happened, like if this had like me and Squish was playing Ana, she would have said something like, "Hey, I'm like 15 to nano, just take some damage and come back."
Mm-hmm.
And that would have done that. Unfortunately, that happened right there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like me. That's part on me for feeding, and two, I just got rushed on. Like I was GG, you know. By me trying to like buy a little bit of time and space there, so my team can kind of reposition. Like this is me trying to give us a little bit of positioning advantage, right? Because we were down on the high ground, and I pushed the Ashe off a little bit, but then they killed me. They just rushed me.
Yeah.
So this is where I like to say is like when you know how your team should be playing, when you get into a higher level of gameplay, don't try to overcompensate. Right? Play to the lobby's strengths and play to your teammates' strengths. Sometimes I forget to do this, and I'm like, well, we should have done this, and it's like they don't know that they should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I don't get frustrated anymore. Like once you understand that process of Overwatch, you try to do your job and your responsibility the best to your ability, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Right? When you start to overcompensate for other players on your team, that's when you make mistakes. And sometimes that's good. Like sometimes you make plays that are very good, but most of the time you make mistakes. That's the truth.
It's gonna cost
And
you.
a lot of this game was us trying to overcompensate for this person.
Mm-hmm.
And
Why they were on
their
Ash
name says it
didn't make
all.
sense.
Yeah.
Their name says it all. I'm just saying. I think I was flaming them the entire time. But yeah, just like think about it. Again, remember the importance of sight lines, or LOS as we call it, line of sight. Ash can't see you from here, right? Because you have this cover.
Yep.
You can see them. Possibly you would see Puddles. He did mention he is throwing. He did throw. It's okay. That's fine. But yeah, just better sight lines overall, right? So. And sometimes even if you play perfectly, it just doesn't work out, and that's how it is. You can't expect to have perfect 100% all the time. All you can do is try to be consistent in how you play, and it is consistently better if you take these angles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we go to third point. Third point is also pretty. This whole map is pretty good for Ana in particular.
But I mean, like the Genji being so low constantly, right? It's like the quick scope. Sometimes they just come in handy.
Mm-hmm.
Like right there, like right there. Like I look at it, I see that, and I'm like, this guy's about to die. I have to
okay,
this.
So fortunate.
As a side note, I'll play this back. So you do get cleansed here by me because I notice.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have been in here in the first place because obviously, again, no need to no scope. If you want to, you can, but no need to play so far up because you
it's
can
positioning.
do that from this distance,
yeah.
right? But that's fine. I just want to let you know, you get cleansed here and you nade yourself is fine, but you walk into it. At a certain point, if you're on the edge of the Hanzo dragon, you can actually get away with it and take less damage. The reason you died is because you walked into the middle.
Yeah, full on into it.
So, yeah, you might take a little less. You might take a little less damage if you were just on the edge. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
Right. But you decided full send. You said, "Well, might as well die now." You know.
Take me.
So I mean, there was a chance. I just want to mention that because like sometimes people don't know.
Mhm.
Dragon, like there's like a certain amount of space to where like the damage can be negligible or you can get out of it. So
Okay.
The big picture too is you just should not have been that close, and you
Yeah.
could have like done that
yes,
from high ground. That's all it is.
yeah,
Never want to expose yourself as support. You're too valuable in this game. Supports are too strong in this game for that to happen. That's
Mhm.
the only thing.
and your KD. Another thing with your KD, it's not just for ranked and stuff. The more you die, the less presence you have in the fight, right?
Yeah.
So I think we play this pretty well here. We call for the Nano Blade because I
Mhm.
think their tank is pretty bad. So let's see. As a general rule of thumb, I like to play on that high ground on the box there, this thing.
Mhm.
But it's fine if you play down here for a little bit because we're just setting up. So the thing that we see here, me and Puddles, is we've gotten. Oh, actually, wait. This is not the right fight.
Oh, it's the next one, I think.
Oh, it's the next one. Yeah. This is fine. Basically, I just want to say like Blade is like sometimes tricky because you can't always rely on your Genji.
Yeah.
So you want to
I
try to
never rely
set
on
it
it.
up exactly. So you
So
want to set it up in the best possible way to where like you're basically babying them into a corner so that the Genji can get
yeah,
all of them. That's how we think about
I
it.
had to set it up for the Genji because they just throw my games. Like I'm baiting them all in because they're gonna chase me after this because they know that I'm low.
Okay, never do this. Never walk around.
Mhm.
Because the reason you're kind of like turning your back to the enemy. You don't know
Mhm.
if they're pushing up or not. Just as a general rule of thumb, try to like if you're gonna reposition, look both ways or go
Walk
this way,
back. Mhm.
something like that, or just walk back and you can meet them here. That's all. A little
High
side
ground's
note.
very important for Ana.
Yes,
High
or
ground
you
positioning
honestly
just
take the high ground, but I want
yeah.
to talk about that later. Yeah,
Okay.
but you can. What are you gonna say?
No, you're good.
Okay, okay. But yeah, let's see. So we force out the diva to where she's in a terrible spot. She has to run away. They use their TP there,
Mhm.
and then this is what me and Puddles see. So we see both the DPS on the right side, and we see that like the most
Can
of the
you
team is basically on
can
this
you
right
zoom
side.
out of this? Right,
I
just
can,
towards,
yeah.
yeah, right here. Back up even more. Just zoom out. Like from her POV though, like back out. Like if you were
Mhm.
looking like up from the Ana. So the best way to think about this is like let's say if you were playing high ground a little bit more.
Mhm.
If you look at our positioning, and I like to call these triangles, you can literally form a triangle from where each one of us is. If the tank is the tip of the triangle, right? You have one triangle with you and on the aunt and Ella, right? We have another triangle with the Genji and Ella. And then we have another three triangle between the Genji and you, right? That means you have LOS of 3, Ella has LOS of 2, right? You actually have LOS of 4 if you count the tracer. And this just allows you to have an advantage of collapsing on people,
Mhm.
right? And also having the best LOS that you can, right? So if you were to get dove here, Ella can see you. I can see you, right? Genji can peel back, right? The Tracer will see you. If anyone here is getting engaged on, we can all see each other's point of view, other than probably me, for the most part, unless someone calls it out behind me. But for the most part, you can all see each other's point of view because it's how everyone's just shooting in the same angle here.
Yeah.
It's like perfect, right? And this is kind of what sets up the Nano Blade. Like this is just really good position. The only thing I would add is like high ground super important. Like if you're on high ground here, that's really like the best position you can have on this rotation.
I'm gonna put this back a little bit to see if I can. Mm. So this is where we force them.
Mhm.
And the moment we see that they're pushing backwards, we know that the diva's going back for let's say healing or whatever, because she knows that she's getting poked out. Because she sees this. She sees everyone converging,
Mhm.
basically. So that's when we know they're in a corner. And you know what we said about Baby and Genji players, right? They always have to have the best possible situation or else they're not going to kill anything. So, great Nano. I think we call for it. This is the reason why we called for it. I just wanted to say. See how they're all in the corner? They have nowhere to run.
Yes.
See? Even then, he kind of almost missed the Ash. Trash. Okay? Trash.
And if any tank players are watching, peeling back like that is very bad a lot of the times. By that, Diva peeling back, right? Meant that your heals were not getting eaten. Ella's heals weren't getting eaten. Her kunais aren't getting eaten. Your nades aren't getting eaten. The Genji Blade. A Diva can't peel for a Genji Blade. It's a physical damage. So like the tank doing that, very bad. Like
Yeah.
that's why we read it. The tank peeling back there, I was like, you're giving us the offensive advantage here to push on you. We're gonna do it.
Yeah.
That's
Oof.
what I meant about like the earlier Genji Blade is because we couldn't really see where they were, and they definitely had spaces able to run. Obviously, it worked out. It's fine, but this is a much better spot in which I'd say like to do it because they've spent a lot of their cooldowns. They're in a bad tight spot, right? They tried to push, they couldn't, so they ran back, right? So on this next engagement, what I want to see you doing is I want you to recognize the fact that, okay, we won the team fight. I'm really safe right now. I can go take this angle right up here. Or even, honestly, sometimes I take it up here, but like, that's scary. Even I get scared doing that. But yeah, I like to take it up here instead. Because look at this, look at your LOS, right? You see everything. I would say you're in danger, but you're not really because the fact of the matter is like your DPS are looking at your tank. You're so far back and you're on high ground, they have to literally look behind the enemy team and up.
Yeah, but this I will say someone's gonna say, well, you could get sniped. 100%.
Yes,
This is why people hate one-shotters. Because no matter how good positioned you are, if you peek for a second and they get lucky, you can still die. And that's just it's the worst feeling in the game. Like you're positioned perfectly fine, your team's like far up there, and then what are the odds is Hanzo looks at you all the way in the back and actually lands a headshot from 40 meters out.
I would
Still
call
can
that
happen.
yeah.
Is unlikely, but it happens.
That would be a movement thing. Trying to move more. So you get dove, it's fine. That's kind of mean. Why'd they do that?
Right here. So if you go back like 5 seconds,
Sure.
once we were down 2, right? You should have immediately just gone into the room. You can't survive this. We're
Yeah.
down 2, and kind of like the same thing. Like I can't, like I said, how the diva can't peel for the Genji. There's only so much that me coming back here, and you see like me coming back here to try to peel for you, versus 5 people. Like there's only so much I could have done. So like you're down both your DPS. You know they're pushing. You know they have to push. Just go into the spawn room and just play safe.
Yeah. I want to see if there's a world in which you could have stayed back here.
No,
Because
without DPS, we would have just gotten staggered even more. I was going back to the spawn room. I peeled up there just to make sure to distract them for a second, because I knew they were gonna collapse on you guys. So I was trying
of course, there's no DPS.
they're dead. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, all I'm doing right here as my diva was like, I need to buy you guys time. That's all I was trying to do. And like, I bought you guys enough time, and I'm literally running to the spawn room too, just like I thought you guys were gonna do, because there's nothing else that you can do with our DPS both today. Here, I just made a lucky play.
Good sleep on Bob. You're in there, but I don't mind it because there's nobody. It's fine. Sometimes I be in there too. You just have to know, like, if you're in there, realize maybe you're like here and this is already aggressive, but don't try to walk across the point if you know there's enemies, basically. Like, if you want to be in here, yeah, you can walk around. Look, the way in which you're like, you see how I'm tethering my crosshair to just the point? Instead of, this is something to think about. I know it's like a nitpicky thing, but like instead of like walking forward and having maybe your team has to walk backwards, you have to 180, you have to do all this stuff, and suddenly you're turning your back to the enemy and you get headshot or something, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Never turn, as a general rule of thumb, if you don't need to. Don't turn your back. Don't 180. Always look at what's in front of you and what's happening, the scene in front of you, right? You can
Mhm.
always just do this, right? Sometimes it's negligible. Sometimes I just ego too. It's whatever. But when it matters, just know. But yeah, basically, the one takeaway I'd like to say is to remember that you can scope in and you
Mhm.
can walk backwards, and you don't need to be close to hit your shots. Um, and a lot of the times that comes with just panicking and playing reactively, like I said, instead of proactively.
Yes.
Playing proactively, you think about the game and you think about the fight in front of you. You think about what's ahead. You know where to go from there. And that's just mainly practicing. They're like on a presets basically, but yeah. Puddles, you have anything to add?
The only thing I'll add is as you climb through ranks, right, the expectation of as support does also increase. So let's say if I were to look at the high diamond through low master support, what I expect from them is they have an increased offensive presence, right? Aggressive, Kiriko kunais, offensive nades. If you're a Zen, you're landing and clicking heads, right? If you're a Lucio player, you can now do drive-bys. That's what I call them, drive-bys. When you see someone that's very low, you speed boost into them. You use your regular clicks, and then you boop them, and then you finish the kill, right?
It's a hit and
That's what I
run.
expect. Hit and run. That's what I call them, drive-bys. Right? I expect that from a high diamond through low masters Lucio at that point, right? Saves are expected at certain points of the game, right? So I expect for you to land your sleeps more often than not. I expect your cleanses to hit more often than not, right? Like I am expected if you're a life weaver even to be able to grip me out of danger. Like that is expected from high diamond to low masters, right? Cooldown management, it needs to be cleaner and more precise. How are you rotating your cooldowns? If you're Kiriko, right, you don't just TP and cleanse automatically. You can TP and heal. You can TP, heal, wall climb, and then if you need to, you pop the cleanse. If you can TP, heal, and then land a cooldown. Maybe you just need to get the kill. Remember, killing is what we say is killing is damage is healing. If
Mhm.
you take out the enemy, you don't need to heal, right? So this
Mhm.
is where like cooldown management is becoming more important, right? Game awareness, right? High diamond to low masters needs to have increased, right? You should know tracking ults is important. You should be able to predict enemy engagements, when and where they're gonna predict. For example, if you're going up against dive and you're an Ana player, if you use nade and sleep and you use it early, and the enemy team is running dive, you best believe they're gonna dive you now. They know that
Mhm.
you used sleep and nade. Like I look for that. Every tank player looks for that. Sleep and nade come out. Let's go, Genji. You hear that all the time from
Mhm.
players, right? So that again, your cooldown management is very important, right? The other part is you have to know when you can snowball, when you can fully push, right, and when you have to burn the clock. On that defensive side, the whole point of that defensive session that we just did, my thought process was we have to burn the clock. Burn the clock as much as possible. Worst comes to worst, we force a 3v3 with zero time on the game. Right? Now that's what I expect of a high diamond through low masters. Mid masters through low GM, it's the same as above. Your offensive presence and your balance even increases even more. And I like to say is like mid masters through low GM, if you're a support player, players need to fear you. Like
Mhm.
when they are gonna take you on in that 1v1 if they're a DPS, they expect that they're probably gonna lose. If they don't have that fear that they're gonna lose, you're not playing your hero correctly, right? Your utility management has to be at 80% efficiency to actually climb, and your precision has to be almost excellent. And that's the way that I say you would maximize your value, right? They need to just fear you, cooldown management, your efficiency and consistency at least at 80%. And that's what a mid masters with low GM support. That's what I would assume. That's what I expected, right? Now, as far as your mechanical skills, Kara, I see that you have the mechanical skills because you can click heads. With Ana, I think it's just a little bit of a confidence thing. You haven't
Yeah.
played her. I know you play Mercy and
Yeah.
Kiriko. Perfectly fine. Not a problem, right? Squitch is going to show you here, like Ana Paintball. This is a great place, a custom game to just
Uh-huh.
learn how to quick scope. It's very fun. And you just practice it, and it just becomes muscle memory. That's all it is. It's muscle
Yes.
memory.
Mhm.
Once you get this down, and then you work on your positioning and your awareness a little bit more, I see no problem why your Ana gameplay couldn't be just as good as your Mercy or Kiriko. Because I will say your Kiriko and Mercy are better than your Ana. Like
Mhm.
I can tell that outright. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You just play them more often, and it just shows, right? You're more
Yeah.
confident and more relaxed when you're playing those two heroes. So Ella, you can. This is Ella. This is what she does all the time. Was just playing. Like I just walk away because I'm a tank player. Like I don't need to aim. I say this all the time.
Okay, yeah.
I don't need to aim, and then Ella just does this while we're in queue for 15 minutes. So
Yes.
that's how long
recommend
the queues
doing
are. Like,
this
what are you gonna
in
like? I
queue.
can't just sit there. I just walk away and I go AFK. But this is what she does.
Yeah, I recommend going in queue, and like when you're in queue, if you're bored, just do this.
Okay.
Basically. Another thing, this only looks at your raw reaction time and aim, right? So you can practice your sleep darts, you can practice your quick scopes, your no scopes, whatever you want. You can't really hard scope in this scenario. It's more about your efficiency, your aim, and your speed.
Reaction. Speed.
Yeah.
Smooth is fast and fast is smooth, right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah. Yeah. And also the fact that like a lot of this is also audio based. You can hear like the footsteps around me. I'm sure we're yapping a lot, so you can't really hear as much, but yeah, it's just about like your audio visual, your spatial awareness, stuff like that. It's good. It's just a good thing to practice if you wanted.
Okay.
Another thing is sometimes like shooting is not enough. Sometimes you need to learn like your combos or just 1v1ing, because that does happen. As like the higher you get, you will have to 1v1. Okay, just think about this. He's not
Like your
even shooting
combos.
back.
Do your combo. Like you could. There's so many combos you can do.
Okay.
Like with tracers, you can one-shot tracers if you sleep them.
Yes.
You can do that with. I think the only ones you can't do it with are Kree, Reaper, May, and
Okay.
Yes.
Torb, obviously.
So mostly generally like 200 HP enemies. In a quick play, they're a 3-shot with either like 3 like physical bullets or like shoot, nade, shoot, right? They get comboed out. I can show you this in regular practice range. But it's shoot, nade, shoot. And that's a 3-shot for generally most squishies. Cass has 225 because they hate me.
Yeah.
And they keep on buffing him and then nerfing him and then buffing him back. Whatever. But yeah. So the faster you get at this, the faster you kill enemies, the faster you can reposition, stuff like that, right? And this is why I say Ana is a very scary support to 1v1. Because she has all this utility. She has a sleep dart and she has a nade. She could heal herself. She denies you healing. She damages you while she's doing that. And I'll say, yeah, so 3-shot for 200 HP. If we go to a cast, my worst nightmare, he does not get 3-shot. He has that extra 25, so you just punch him, basically. So if you get fast enough at that, like a 1v1 in a deathmatch, you can basically just like as fast as possible, right? Or you can sleep him or do whatever. Tracer is a little easier. There she is. Tracer is a 2-shot punch. Or if you can get good enough, I would say maybe if you're duoing with someone, Puddles, it's good practice for me. I just get to practice my sleep darts on tracers. Because you might need that.
She's calling me a fat, by the way. That's
yes.
Said.
I'm saying he's like good enough to where he has the awareness that he won't int into me, but like bad enough to where you can just practice. You can practice your sleep darts. Practice because Tracer is a pretty hard to hit hero, right? Practice your. Oh my god, I missed. Yeah. Practice your combos, stuff like that. Try to kill them as fast as possible, because when you're 1v1ing in an actual game, that's what you want to be worried about. Is you want to like get out of the fight as soon as possible, come out of it alive, and then come back and heal your team.
Yeah.
Or support them in any way you want, right? So yeah, Ana's scary as fuck. Like you get naded, like I'm running. So just remember that. Don't be scared of taking the 1v1s if you really need to, or if you think it's gonna help your team.
That's why you're having your cooldowns is so important.
Yes.
On Ana without cooldowns is just a sitting duck. That's the truth.
And you have to think about it team comps wise too. If they had a tracer and you know they're gonna dive you, then maybe play a little farther back. It kind of depends. You either play farther back so that you don't get dove, or you play like closer so you actually get field for.
Hmm.
I think you'll learn that difference as soon as you start playing her more. Um, but yeah, basically, I just recommend 1v1ing. Like the DPS aspect of Ana is very important. It's almost as important as like her just overall support role, right? Especially with the way this game is moving. Supports our DPS.
Yeah,
So
they
just keep that in mind.
are. Yeah.
With
Yeah.
all the yapping we've done, do you have any questions?
No, this has been like very eye-opening in terms of like how just I don't know, like just watching it all back really is it I don't know, it's like outer body experience. Like I didn't know I really played like that, or at least while I'm playing Ana, and how important certain things are. So like I'm taking it all in, and I appreciate the honest feedback and the pointers and the tips. And yeah, I have no questions. But I'm really excited to like play her more, have more confidence, and have more awareness of what I'm doing.
Yeah, and me and Puddles do this all the time. Like when we were actively climbing, we were always VOD reviewing our own games. It was less structured as this, but obviously we would just look through it and be like, okay, what did we do wrong here? What did
Hmm.
we expect from each other? What didn't happen?
Hmm.
So stuff like that. It's good to sometimes review,
It
even if it's just
is.
yourself, right?
Quick question. With Ana, it's the balance of like when to DPS and when to heal. Is there like any pointers about that, like when you should be more DPSing? Like DPSing, I mean, go for damage as Ana or go for more to heal. Is there any pointers on that?
So
Yeah.
you can talk about that with not my own thought process question.
Well, I was just gonna say quickly, like some Ana players, like really good players, their thought process, like let's say awkward, he says DPS until your tank or like your team really needs the healing, like, and they really need to be kept alive. That's the point. That's an example of a very aggressive like point of view, is that you should be DPSing always unless you really have to heal. Um, you should be lobbing aggressive nades unless you really have to fall back or you heal yourself. I don't personally think that way. I think of it more as like um, when you have time in between and you know that someone's not gonna die, maybe hit a shot because maybe you can get a pick off of it. Um, but yeah, what else you can talk about this?
It's gonna depends on the main healer, right? Like if you like depending on your other healer, it's gonna depend how you could be able to DPS a little bit more, right?
True. Yes.
Yes and no, right? So as you get comfortable with the Ana kit, and the reason why I like to play 45 degrees angle, if you can go to that defensive session, the defensive last point squish where I was showing you like this is perfect positioning. Okay, so if Kira were to position here on the high ground, the best way to think about it and why I tell Ana players to be at a 45-degree angle is because as you're strafing, like as you're tracking your team from this 45 degree, like let's say if you're over at allies up top, you can see your team on the left and on the right side, right? So if you were to stand right there, right, I have no problem with if you're Ana right here, you can heal your tracer, right? Let's say I'm able to push up front, heal your diva, but guess what? As you're going from left to right, there's no problem with you landing a shot on any of those squishies. Does that make sense? Because you're already moving your cursor in that direction. So what I like to do is you're getting pop shots, right? And that's a perfect opportunity. As you're as you're playing your role, you can just consistently do this without putting any less value on the other stuff that you're doing, your nades, your sleeps, your awareness, right? You're healing your team, but boom, the Ana's right there. You landed one shot. Boom, the Diva's right there. You landed one shot. You're
Mhm.
building your ult charge and you're doing a little bit of damage to the enemy team. That's what I like to say for Ana's pop shots. Now, when you really want to be like super aggressive, right? That really does come down to, let's say they don't have cleanse, and you really want to do damage, and you know they don't have cleanse, and you know that you can land a nade there, do it. It's one of those like high risk, high reward plays. Depending on the lobby that you're playing on, it will depend on the value that you're gonna get. Like let's say you land
Yeah.
a 4-person nade and they don't have cleanse, and let's say you can land that nade and then you get one of them. That's as far as you probably can do, unlike, let's say, a plat lobby. You can't expect your DPS to push up. You don't know if they're going to push up. You don't know if your tank is going to push up. Be as aggressive as you need to be, right, to do damage to the enemy team, as long as it doesn't put you out of position or gets you immediately killed. That's how I view as like you can be like push the boundary, push your limits in all the games you're playing in, and say, wow, that got me killed. Let me tune that back a little bit. Well, next time I do this, well, it didn't get me killed. Perfect
Mhm.
balance. And that's the way I would say, like, be aggressive. Like right here, this is perfect. You if you have the confidence, like, think about it. Like, let's say you're plat and that Ana is plat, you're both equally plat, right? So let's say it's all about like, can I hit my shots on Ana to keep her away from healing the diva? Because if you do, that's awesome. If you land a nade all the way in their backline, that diva isn't going to get healed, right? Even better, right? But as you're doing this, it doesn't stop you from doing what you were originally doing, which is healing your team, right? So that's why I think like having good positioning allows you to DPS more,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Having bad positioning and being up, like if you were on the floor on the payload, no, you should be thinking about running away. Like right here, you should not be thinking about. You should be like, I should probably not be here right now, which is what
Mhm.
Kira's doing right now. She's turning around. She's like, I should not be here right now. But if you're up high, yes, you can do a couple pop shots, right? Help your team out, land a couple nades, and then just play by that health pack, no problem, right? And this is going to be a give and take as you play the hero and continue to climb, pushing the boundaries. But remember what I tell all my supports, whatever tell all my tanks, never assume that your team's going to do something unless you calmed it as a group. Never assume. Never assume that cooldowns have been used unless you've seen them yourself or tracked them yourself. Assume that teams are close to ults unless you've tracked them, right? What that means is, let's say, they have cleanse or rush. You probably shouldn't be too aggressive because you're just gonna get deleted, right? So, let's say they have visor or sights on Widow. You probably shouldn't be peeking to try to contest a Widow, right? That's a very much an ego thing. You can do it, but like you know that they have sights, you shouldn't be peeking, right? So,
That's another thing. Let's talk about like actually I don't want to let's say like on a high ground map, like let's say Circuit Royale or even this. If you're here as Ana, sometimes I like to actually defend. We obviously didn't have the time this game to take this angle. I like to play here, like on this ledge as Ana,
Uh-huh.
and have my tank position here. This is what we usually do. I understand we got ran down. That's fine. Um, but the reason why I like this is because the fact that I can also be aggressive with him. And another thing I want to add about your positioning here is what Puddle said. You have the advantage because of the fact that you can be aggressive from this position, right? Think about again LOS. First, you can't see the Ana from this angle, but also the diva can see you from this angle.
Yeah.
And you obviously know like diva counters the nade, right? She eats the nade, she
Mhm.
eats the sleep. When you're up here, I would argue you can probably land that because her immediate attention is not on you. And it's good to land a nade maybe on the Ana or on her, just because for a second we're kiting back, and if you're in a higher lobby, the natural instinct of the enemy team would to be it's kind of like this push and pull. Natural instinct would be to push forward because we're pulling back, right?
Yeah.
So what the nade does is basically it makes the diva maybe have second thoughts about pushing forward. Maybe she'll be like, okay, I'm not really in the space to be walking up right now. Potentially could get me killed instead of getting her a pick. That's the difference between like getting fully dove on and the difference between like repositioning back, re-engaging, winning the fight. Sometimes it really is down to a nade, right?
Mhm.
And your nade sometimes is down to your positioning. What shots can you hit based on what angles you're taking? Okay. So yeah. I hope that answers.
the question, yep.
Yeah.
That was a good question.